Hello, good evening to everyone. It's a bit of a late time here at my place, but I've decided to play some classical game, leeches.org, and we have a London system for the 1 millionth time. But no, now the opponent deviates with the move c4. Usually they place the pawn on c3, try to create this stable pawn center, but the move c4 I believe should be met with c5. Now that his pawn on d4 is not as stable as it is with the pawn on c3, I think it makes sense to create some pressure against it. Okay, knight c3. So yeah, basically we have a kind of a King's Indian type position. I think the fact that white places bishop on f4 and pawn on e3 makes black's position fully playable. I have a bit of options right now. I can try to put more pressure against the center with a move like knight c6, but then again it might be met with d5, which is not necessarily a move I don't want to see because it helps me to open up this diagonal, but I might keep it as an option. Also queen b6 comes to mind, trying to create some pressure here. Should I go for queen to b6? Let's see. Okay, let's try to go with queen b6, see where this is taking us. I'm kind of asking white how exactly does he want to deal with this threat, because it's actually not so comfortable for him to deal with it. Queen c2 will be met with bishop f5 perhaps. Rook b1 is also not a very comfortable move to make. Yeah, so he decided to go with queen to b3. But here he took off one more defender of the d4 square, so I thought about move like knight c6 right now. I think this move makes sense, because now on d5 I might even have options of meeting it with knight b4, but at the very least I will be able to play knight to a5, and I would be happy to force white to take on b6, because then I could recapture with the pawn and open up the a file for myself. So at the moment my threat is to take on d4. I simply have more attacking units against this pawn than he does. So yeah, he decided to take on c5. Okay, now I'll probably recapture with the queen because I want to keep the pawn structure. I want to keep this pawn on d6 for the time being, even though I guess d takes c5 would also be quite okay. Yeah, I'll probably go with this move. This also allows me to keep the c file open for the time being, so this pawn on c4 could be a potential target to attack. Move like bishop e6, knight a5 might come in the future, and also once again, because the c file is opened, I always will have the options of placing my rook on c8 and try to create the pressure against the pawn on c4. So let's see how white reacts to this. He probably should think about his development, maybe bishop e2, trying to get his castling as soon as possible. Okay, knight to a4. Now I don't like this move so much because now I can check on a5, and I think white will just have to go back with his knight on c3 right now, because he cannot block with the queen, because then the knight on a4 would be hanging. And he also cannot block with the knight on d2, because then after knight e4 there would be some enormous pressure against the knight on d2. So yeah, he decided to go back. But now this is a very critical loss of 2 tempos. Now thanks to this pin, I can create lots of pressure against the knight on c3. So at the time being, white is able to maintain the defense on the knight on c3, but I'm wondering how long can he hold the defense. Now I need not to rush with the move knight takes c3, because basically I can play it whenever I want. So I can first develop the bishop. The question is, do I want to develop it to e6 with the intention to put further pressure against the pawn on c4, or to develop it to f5, where it might be good with the inclusion of moves like knight c5 and knight e3. Basically all options look good to me. Just a matter of preference. I'm thinking about bishop f5. Okay, I'll try to go with bishop f5. We'll see where this is taking us. Once again, I can always take the knight on c3, so it doesn't really have too much to do about it. Now I'm really thinking about doing move like knight c5, hitting the queen, followed by knight e3 check. That would be something I would be really happy to get. Okay, so the time situation favors him slightly, but I do have enough time, 6 minutes on my clock, to be in time to make use of my advantage. I think it's quite clear that white has some issues to solve here, but I think anyway he has to play bishop e2 and to castle. It's been really too long for him. g4, well, here we go. I believe g4 is a very committal move. So basically now the knight on f3 is badly hanging, so I would like to post my bishop on e4. This means that I need to move my knight from e4 with the tempo, so it's either taking the knight on c3 or placing my knight on c5. That's also an option. That's not entirely clear which one is better. I know for sure that both are should be good. The question is which one is better. I kind of have the feeling that knight c5 is the more, let's say, direct one. But let me check. If I play knight c5, you will play queen d1 probably. You will be able to cover the square on d3, but I will have bishop e4, Hitting the knight, he will play bishop on e2. And once again, he is ready to castle on his next move. So, do I have a way to increase the pressure? I don't see it immediately. Okay, if I want to play kind of practically, I can just take on c3 and play bishop e4 and have a very safe advantage thanks to my better pawn structure. Okay, let's take on c3. I'm running a bit low on time, so I'll just try to play a bit more practical. So his position is really quite full of weaknesses right now. So in the next move I would like to try to take advantage of those weaknesses. He now has to decide whether he plays his bishop on e2 or g2. Yeah, so he decided on bishop e2. So I think for now I might play a move like knight e5, kind of forcing him to give me the bishop's pair. Yeah, okay, let's play this. The threat of knight takes f3, practically forcing the move bishop takes e5. Now I have very strong bishops, and his position is pretty much full of weaknesses all around the board. So I should have a very nice and secure advantage. I think in the next moves I will try to concentrate my attention to these double pawns on the c file, and I will try to kind of squeeze the most of the weaknesses that he has in his position. And of course, in addition to these very weak pawns on the queen side, he also weakened his king considerably with this move g4, so this is also something to consider in the future. I might have some pawn breaks on the king side with h5, maybe trying to open up the h file and creating some checkmating attack, so we shall see. He's thinking now, but I don't think white has too many promising options. Probably should try to get my bishop off his active square in the center. In this case, I'm going to drop to c6. So my bishops are very secure right now. So if white does nothing special, my next moves could be something like rook c8, maybe even rook c7, trying to double on c-file. Well, f4. That's definitely not a good move. This is creating further weaknesses, especially this pawn on e3. And now I'm going just to simply attack this pawn on e3. And I don't see really a way for white to avoid material losses. Yeah, so is this a checkmate? No, not yet. But I think white will resign right now. Everything is going to collapse right now. He has to play king g1. Then the queen collects the pawn on e3. And the game will be over very soon. I think the move f4 was a complete suicide. So that's a very good illustration of kind of premature activity. Sometimes we make moves which seems very active, but in reality they only create weaknesses for us. So even though it seems like white is kind of having a lot of space, he created many weaknesses for himself. So basically that was a relatively easy game. Just wondering if I had something better, because I felt that around this point, as you can see, the computer already evaluates the position as highly favorable for black. And yeah, this is the I believe only critical moment in the game, well, where I feel like I could have maybe played better. So computer suggests actually taking with the bishop, then playing knight c5, bishop e4, and bishop e2. Yeah, I think I actually saw this position in my head. I just failed to evaluate this position is so favorable for me, like the computer suggests here. So yeah, it seems like I've just taken the pawn on a2. But okay, this is a bit of a computerish line. So yeah, my move should be good enough also. And even though I didn't play the most accurate, still white, he's in a very bad shape here with all of those weaknesses. And yeah, the move here, white was still not in such a bad position after bishop f3, but the move f4 just completely self-destructed and he lost very quickly. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this game. Hope you enjoyed it, the commentary and the explanations. Please don't forget to subscribe if you like the content on this channel, and we will see you on the next videos. Bye bye.